Performance. Once again, we are on the road with Garage Table Discussions. And I want to thank Karen Koenig again from the Haldeman Barn here in Tip City for letting me come in and sit down with this young man who you may already know, but we're going to find out more about him. This is Bradley Belcher. Bradley, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm honored.
Really appreciate it. So Bradley is the founder and president of Millennial Mustang Registry. First thing I want to do is find out a little bit more about you and how you got into the Mustang circle and so forth, or car circle, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I grew up in the backseat of my dad's 69 red Mustang convertible. He's had that now for 32 years, and I'm 22, so he's had that for 10 years before I was born. And the day before I was born, he bought me a little Mustang pedal car, literally the day before I was born, that we'd take to car shows. And when he was showing his, I'd show my car, and I'd clean it, and I was so proud of that thing. So I grew up in the backseat of his Mustang and in my little pedal car. And as I got older, when I was about 12 or 13, I asked him, I said, "Dad, what's my Mustang going to be?" Because there was no doubt in my mind that I would have one. It was just a part of the family, and I knew I was going to have one. So we talked and decided that he and I would restore one together as long as I did as much of the work as possible and paid for half of the car and half of everything we did to it.
Now that's a good dad right there. Not only working with you on the car, but teaching you some responsibility and just, making you invest.
Absolutely. That car definitely taught me a lot, but he handed me his Mustang book, told me to pick anything, any body style, but I had to pick the year, the body style, everything, because he knew as a 13-year-old, the first auction we go to, the first one I see, that's it, that's the car. So I had to pick the car ahead of time, the year and body style. The only stipulation was I had to stay out of the Shelby section because I wasn't going to get one before he did. So I landed on a 65 fastback. Absolutely loved the lines, the body style. Gail's original design really just spoke to me. So that's what we decided to do. And we found one in Ohio that it was just a rolling chassis. It was just a shell. Didn't have an engine, transmission, drivetrain, interior, nothing.
Oh, wow.
So we ended up going with that because that's what I could afford. We had a couple that we were looking at, and I'd worked to save up some money, and we just doubled what I had, and that's what we went to auction with. And if the car went for more than that, we couldn't get it. So we had a couple that we were looking at. One was a running, driving, needed a tune-up, needed some work that we were going for, but that went over the initial investment that I had. So what we got was just the rolling chassis shell, and took about the 3 remaining bolts off that were on it, and media blasted it, took it down, and then spent the next 4.5 years restoring it and building it up to the car it is now.
That's the challenge right there, and that you stuck with it. Because a lot of times people get the idea of starting these projects, especially the father-son thing, and 6 months to a year into it, they're like, okay, So 4.5 years for you to stick it out and do the job that you did with this car, which we're going to obviously have some pictures in here and video of the car. It's spectacular. Gorgeous. So to stick that out, kudos to you.
Well, thank you. It was definitely difficult at times. We did it in stages. Spending 2 years in the body shop with it in gray primer standing on it, that was a little difficult for me. I really enjoyed the engine work more than anything because I could go over in a day and bolt half the parts on and see a lot of progress. Right. So the body shop was difficult for me because of how long it took. But looking back, I'm glad we spent that 2 years. Since the car is black, the metal had to be perfect. Right. So it was a challenge at times to stick it out, but fortunately the way we did the car in stages, we built the engine, and I was able to get a lot done there, and then switch to the body shop. And while it was in primer, we were doing some other little things on it so that I could see progress. But I knew what the end result could be, and Mustang was a part of my life, so there was no doubt in my mind that we would finish it and get it to be the car that it is today. And it also really helped that I had several local retirees in my hometown that were willing to teach me how to do it. So I worked with several different people along the process. And like when I did the engine, the guy that taught me how to do that, Jack Ball, he sat next to me in a lawn chair and told me bolt by bolt how to do it.
But he didn't do it for you.
No, he didn't do it for me. They all taught me, and I did as much as I possibly could.
Yeah, that again, that's the key. And the fact that, and this is what I love about the whole idea of your Millennial Mustang Registry, is the younger people that have the interest and are wanting to learn about Mustang, not even current Mustangs, but the history of Mustang and how we got to where we're at now with the current Mustangs, and the willingness of some of these older folks to sit and teach you and pass on their knowledge. And that's where I'm hoping that down the road, you're going to be that guy.
Oh, absolutely. You know? I'd love to be. And there have been some people that I've already been able to help along in some minor roles through their restoration process. It's a clock.
We're going to leave that in.
If you watch the movie A Faster Horse and the interview with John Clore, you'll hear that same clock go off in the background.
Yeah, well, we're going to leave it in there. So when you were doing this project, or when you were a little younger, how about your friends? Did you have friends that were into the car thing too?
A lot of my friends actually were very interested in the process and wanted to hear about it. I was able to make a lot more car friends and realize what of my current friends were already car people during the process. Nobody else that I knew at 14, 15, 16 when I was in the bulk of working on the car, nobody else was doing that or really wrenching on anything like I was. But they were all interested and always wanted to see updated pictures and hear how it was going. And they were all very excited the first time I got the car on the road and was able to come and show it off.
Yeah.
Several of them actually did end up getting Mustangs, and I do have several of my friends from high school that are some of the earliest members in the Millennial Mustang Registry.
Yeah. So your car is a 65 Fastback, right? So a total restoration. Would you say, is everything original to the car as far as not the original parts? I know that's not always
well,
but I mean, is it a representation that you would say it's original car?
Not quite. It is actually heavily modified, but you wouldn't be able to tell walking up to it.
Okay.
I love the original design and the true nature of what it was like in 65, but I wanted to make it my own. So there are some minor tweaks and modifications that most people don't notice when they see the car for the first time. There's one modification that Gail is the only person that has ever noticed that and identified it without me having to point it out.
Yeah.
On the early Mustangs, the headlight surround never met up with the fender feature line quite very well. The feature line continued through the fender but stopped when it got to the headlight surround. And so when we were doing the body work, we decided to cut that headlight surround and modify it to extend that feature line through. And when one of the first times Gail really looked over my car, he pointed that out and said, "That's how I wanted it from the factory," and they told me no.
That is that's an honor in itself, that the man that designed the car is looking at your car and going, you know what? I love that kid. I mean, that's got to make you go, oh yeah.
that is by far the best compliment I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And Gail was not the biggest fan of modified Mustangs, the early ones, because his original design was perfect.
Yeah.
And so not that he had any problems with it, but he always preferred the originals, and he really liked what I did to the car because the modifications that we made enhance the original design and complement his original design, not take away from.
What led you to this whole idea of the Millennial Mustang Registry? Just tell me how that came about.
So I would always go to car shows, and I would typically be the youngest one there by far. And so I'd have a lot of people that would come up to me and talk to me about how there needs to be more people my age involved in cars in general, but Mustangs specifically, because those were most of the shows I went to.
Yeah.
And so I just got talking to a bunch of people, and I was tired of honestly hearing nobody your age cares about cars. And because I knew that just wasn't true. I had so many friends that loved cars and Mustangs, and I knew that there had to be a lot more people out there just like me and just like all of the other young car enthusiasts. And too often, car clubs are not set up to cater to a younger generation as well as they could be.
Yeah.
So I decided to start the Millennial Mustang Registry to have a group that was run by millennials for millennials in order to really unite us.
Mm-hmm.
And so MMR has been running for about 2.5 years now, and we are at 431 members as of this morning in 39 states, 7 countries, and 3 continents.
Oh, wow. Well, you must now, and I didn't know this at the time, I guess, but you must have pretty much just started this whole thing. And you wouldn't remember this, but I actually met you a couple of years ago at Mustang Memories.
Yeah.
You received an award from Mike Ray and his club, and I was very impressed at that time with what you were doing. So you must have really just started this about that time, I think.
Yeah, we started, I believe it was in March 2018 was when we launched. So we're still pretty young, still trying to gain some traction, and it's definitely been a learning process.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I've had a lot of help from people like John Clore and Mike Ray that have really helped guide some of my decisions, and more than that, just promote everything that I'm trying to do, and just show the support that we need.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to promote, and you have to have that, I'll call it a little older generation willing to help.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I'm thrilled to see that happen, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today to kind of help do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just excited as heck to see this grow. I know the car sitting to your left belongs to Lauren Koenig, Gail's granddaughter.
Yes.
And we will have a shot of this later, but on her front bumper is a Millennial Mustang Registry number.
No, Lauren is one of the early members, and fortunately, I was able to meet with her and Gail, and so it's been great developing the relationship with all of them over the past couple of years.
And your dad obviously is still involved in helping you with this whole thing. I mean, he's kind of a little behind the scenes, but yet he's a big inspiration and a big help to you, right?
Oh, absolutely. We were actually at the Moxham, the Mustang Owners Club of Southeast Michigan, Summit Club meeting earlier this winter. They had little name placards set up for all of us. So my dad says Michael Belcher, Director of Operations for the Millennial Mustang Registry. And until then, he hadn't had an official title because nothing seemed to stick. But that one worked perfectly. He's been very helpful in the background, helping me to organize things, and with some logistics and travel and transport. Yeah. And he's just been wonderful. He's been a great asset to help me through some of this process and some of the legal documents that needed to happen and everything else.
Well, Bradley, I'll tell you what, I am really, really thrilled with this whole idea of the Millennial Mustang Registry, and I hope that this grows even more. How will anyone watching, learn more about Millennial Mustang Registry or join?
So there are a few different ways. The main way is on our website. If you're interested in joining, our membership, to join, you have to be a millennial who has a Mustang. So that's for those Mustang owners born between the mid-'80s to early 2000s is what we classify the millennial age range. So all you got to do is go to millennialmustangregistry.com, click on the Join Us tab, and there's an application right there. It's completely free to join. All you have to do is fill that out, click Submit, and within a few days I should send you your member number and information about that. So feel free to check us out there. You can reach out to me. Our contact information is on the website, or it's millennialmustangregistry@gmail.com is the email. And you're also more than welcome. Anybody is welcome to follow us on Instagram, Millennial Mustang Registry's username, or join our Facebook group. The Facebook group is open to anybody. You don't have to be a millennial to join the Facebook group. You only have to be a millennial to get your official member number.
That's awesome. Well, Beachmont Ford Performance, we obviously love anyone that's interested in Fords and Mustangs, and we're so happy and proud to be able to help promote this. I really appreciate you joining me here today at the Haldeman Barn.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what better place to talk?
Of course.
Yeah. Karen, thank you again for letting us use the facility, and thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Bradley. All right, guys, join us the next time for the next episode of Garage Table Discussion. And, hey, who knows where we'll be? Take care. Bye-bye.